And
Yeah.
welcome to another episode of Indiepocalypse. We are here at the late night slash early morning block because Indiepocalypse remains an international affair. And I'm not even. The thing is, it doesn't even feel like because we're approaching summertime here in the U.S. You know, the northern hemisphere, U.S. It's still bright out. You know, it's still nice and sunny, even though it's 7 p.m. But that's beside the point. We're here as I am about every week, except for last week because I'm going out to events more often. There's a market I really like in Providence now. It's like so easy to park at. There's infinite parking. You can just move all your stuff in. There's mountains of space. It's like truly. I wish every event. It also only costs $40. I wish every event was like that. But pre. Oh yes, I got to do my things to say the show's actually live. I got to remember to do that. I'm very bad at doing that. Um, but I remember now. But no extensive preamble because this is a late night show, and that means I don't want to run it too long in case because I'm kind of want to get food afterwards, and I don't have everything's closed now. Things if you don't live in the middle of the city, things close at like 9 or 10 o'clock sometimes. And you're like, how do I get stuff? How do I get food? But speaking of how do I get stuff, I got guests here today, and our first guest you may know from around the internet, not from Indiepocalypse though, a game developer and designer, and you know the kind of multi-hat wearing that goes within the indie game space, producing. You may know from dcell games and SKYHOURWORKS is Jeffrey Chiao. Hello, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. I've had a pretty hectic past few days of my life, so
Ah,
yeah.
perfect.
uh,
That is a good hectic or
uh,
a
I
neutral
would say
hectic.
it's a little bit of mix, you know. Just having to like start like another job as one other things on top of, working on games,
Yes.
and it's a pretty busy life. But I've also every time I've gone off, somehow been dragged off to the arcade in like the past, I want to say 48 hours, so that's been fun.
Yeah.
I went to round one yesterday, and I went to the local arcade near me today. So yeah.
And so, no, let's get straight to the thing. What are you doing at those arcades? What's your
Oh,
arcade
oh,
gameplay?
I play games there, but specifically Japanese arcade rhythm games.
Okay.
Um, so round one and this local arcade I go to, they have a lot of these like games, specifically stuff from Konami's Bomani line, as well as like Sega's like um selection of rhythm games as well. A few other stragglers and like different like non-main brand kind of games,
Yeah.
right? Um, but yeah, the games I primarily play there is DDR, right? Dance Dance Revolution, the one that I think a lot of people know about,
Yeah.
as well as its Korean counterpart, Pump It Up, which is probably the more popular game in my area. Um, but I play DDR more. Pop and Music is also another particularly big one. That is a
Is that
older legacy Konami
the
game.
button games?
Yeah, it's like the 9 button game. It's just like got a whole panel of 9 buttons. I actually own a cabinet of that game at home, so I don't play it at the arcade as much nowadays. But yeah, that game is actually not available really outside of Japan. So like if you see like that in that wild, especially if it's hooked up online, you know, like there's people here who are trying to like, make it be playable despite the fact that it's not connected to Japanese servers
Okay.
and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Let me. 1 second. I'm getting my. 1 second. Hello. There we are. I'm gonna turn up my thing on my microphone so it gets louder. But yes, no, that is one of the other. You know what I can do? I can equalize this. But I know what I'm doing. I'm a audio producer. I know what I can do. Anyway, yes, I I wish I could. I have that problem where, see, with the aforementioned not having things closing. I don't know where the closest arcade to me even is.
So I can help you with that because there's actually a really cool website that's like been around for like over a decade that
Yeah.
like people like update and like log where those arcades are at. It's xenius-i-vanisher.com. It's named after a 2DX song. And this website has a big like arcade database that you can search for like local arcades, primarily around America. Although there are a lot, people do also put in entries for places across the world. That is how I found out about certain arcades
Yeah.
local to me. Specifically, the one I go to is called the Cave Gaming Center in Fairfax, Virginia. And yeah, it's not always up to date, and it might actually be missing some stuff, but
Yeah.
as well as maybe showing arcades that don't exist anymore because a
No,
lot of them
I'm
did
looking
die
at the
out.
arcades
Yeah.
near me, and they are like trampoline parks. um,
Yeah, you have to see if they like maybe have some of those games, but usually those places tend to have like older stuff. I would be
oh,
impressed if they got like there is a new dancing game that's like starting to appear in more of these places called Step Maniacs, which is being
right.
produced by a lot of people who used to work on like In the Groove, like the DDR kind of like a clone is a little disingenuous to say, but it definitely was a lot closer to a clone
Yeah.
than you'd think. But like they made the original arcade game for that as well as like the Step Mania engine. So the
Okay.
game is named after that engine, even though it's definitely its own thing.
Yes,
Um,
I am looking right now, and I'm saying I'm in a arcade dry zone. Um,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Sandwich Lodge and Resort Game Room has a lot of arcades.
So yeah, the thing about Xenia Spanish is that
Yeah.
usually people tend to log what rhythm games are there, and that's the
Right.
stuff I primarily like playing. So like, if you take a look at that stuff there, um, you can see if they have like some specific kind of games. Like
Right.
sometimes I go to these places and they just randomly have like a DDR out in the wild or something like that, which is
Yeah.
like really
The
surreal because they don't exist anymore. Like Japan has less than 100 DDR, so America probably has like maybe 10 to 20%. Like I would argue maybe 50% of that by proxy. Yeah, like something like that. There is not a lot of that. I will link the website
I got
here.
it already. I was already on it.
Yeah,
I got you.
specifically this link is to the
Yes.
arcades page, the map for and everything. So you can take a look at all the different stuff. You can sort by the game or the series, but usually the game is better.
Right.
You can sort by like a specific town or city. I think your zip code can work on that specific thing. Yeah. And if you're a
Closed.
local if you hit like the DMV area, I actually update some of the entries there, and I have forgotten to do that for the round one I usually go to. So,
Right.
um,
That.
it is kind of normal behavior for or not no behavior is the wrong word, but it's kind of expected if like the closest arcade to you is like an hour away.
Yes.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, that is.
that is normal. That is normal.
That is
Yes,
that
the
is
round.
that is what I'm looking at. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
technically, I am relatively close to Wait, is Fun Spot still open? That
fun spot.
yeah. I don't know how much modern stuff, but that was like the classic. Oh, we have like a billion.
The one in New Hampshire, right?
Yeah, that New Hampshire one.
I think that is still open.
Okay, yes, it's still. The website looks like it is a million years old, but it's still open. I went there once. It's like it's cool because it has like a lot of things. It's got like all of them in there. You're like on free play.
Yeah, the thing that's kind of fun about what is it? The thing that's fun about arcades is like um the hours for these places tend to be very late.
Right.
So, you mentioned about how like there isn't really a lot of places to go to late in the night after like especially to eat. I mean, I can't say arcades usually serve food, and if they do, probably don't eat there.
Right. It's
But
their
but
just French fries.
yeah, maybe the French fries. Maybe I don't know. Even then, I'd be a little hesitant if round one pizza has anything to say about that. Oh boy.
That
But
it's a crime if there's bad pizza. Honestly.
I mean, if you like Chuck E. Cheese's pizza, maybe round one is slightly less tolerable than that. That's how I'd rank it.
Yeah, I have no frame of reference having not stepped in a Chuck E. Cheese in decades.
I just remember it being really oily, so
Yeah,
not
yeah,
not a.
that's
I'll eat it because it's the only thing that you can eat there, but
right.
ideally not. Yeah.
Yeah, now what if I got pizza? I've been very like vacillating between like I've never mind. This is too much into my eating habits that I've been like I should eat not much junk food, but also I've been thinking more about fast food on a kind of podcast. And I was like balancing the two, finding the balance between them. Uh, but anyway, let's. I want to get to let's get to arcades in a second, but I want to get to the important question on the top rope that I need to ask everyone as part of my intro slash informal marketing survey, which is, Jeffrey, how'd you hear about Indiepocalypse?
Oh, shoot, if I had to be honest with you, I don't remember.
I take that as a compliment because it's been so long. Then
It has been I want to say over a year. Yeah, I know it definitely was for Twitter.
right.
So it's definitely for like seeing the tweet, like seeing like one of the zines get retweeted. I feel like it was one of the first ones too. Like this was when you around the time you started,
This is like
I think.
it's my goal is just Twitter attrition. If people see it enough times, they'll be like, fine. What is this thing I see every month?
Oh yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
That's like the most amount of energy I have when it comes to social media attention nowadays. It's just I just hope enough people like look at my stuff at that point
Right.
on this platform. Forget other platforms. They don't exist. They don't have time to pay attention to them,
No,
you
they are
know.
they. I want to throw things onto a platform. I do not want to be part of a community. I want to. Uh, I want a place where I can have a megaphone that I can blast advertise ads out on. if that
Yeah.
if for the selfishness of that,
You
this
know, it's always something to me because it's like it's kind of an interesting scene to sell because it is
yeah
games, so it's all like you're primarily it's mostly digital. Like you could do like physical releases for that, but it's like its own can of worms,
right.
you know.
I
But
do do physical releases.
yeah, but like that feels like the perfect thing to sell at like a local con or
Yeah
like just cons in general. You mentioned you actually did this
yeah.
before. You actually sold copies of this at a con.
Just last
Um,
week, I people were very excited about like seeing those cassettes. They are a hit as I thought they would be. Uh,
Everyone loves their cassettes.
yeah, they're like, oh, cool. The form factor is neat. They're like, it really drew
Is it
people
like
in.
is it like the cassette USB or something like that, or is it like an
No,
actual cassette?
no, there's no cassettes at all. It's just a regular cheap AliExpress USB stick. Whatever
Yeah,
ones
yeah,
look
yeah.
good to me.
That's what I see. Those will still look pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not. The mixtape is not part of my aesthetic. Um, there's already two other mixtape indie things.
Yes, I am aware of the one of them.
Yeah.
The one in the UK. I don't know what the
Yeah.
other one
There's
is.
also the Hand Eye Society out of Canada does one too.
Oh, I didn't know they do those. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what the one, and that's actually one of the few things that actually has like open submissions. So that is the thing that had been the thing I was like, well, no, there are other bundles, but like none of them have open submissions, which
Yeah,
is
they kind of just it's curated by their own staff and they like pick stuff that they want specifically to
right,
include in there, which
right.
means that people don't have a shot at actually being a part of these fiends. Yeah.
Right, right. If you have no following, if you're not already established in any way, and it's like you don't have like a presence online usually. There's someone I'm super excited about in like coming out next week, and that is someone with zero online presence intentionally, and like how do these people get into like a hand curated kind of thing or like it's tricky, but those people are everywhere, and it's important for them to
Yeah.
get out there.
I mean, the thing about it that's like kind of strange to me about the handpicking nature of that kind of stuff is like, you know, when I think of most art scenes that people do, like
Yeah,
anyone can join those. Like, it's just, are you a fan of this stuff and you want to make some stuff together with us? Like, let's just do it, right?
yeah,
You know, zines always had that kind of like underground, like indie nature to it. And, you know, when you do have like a very curated selection, can you really call that indie? I mean, like, there's still pretty good selections. And
yeah,
I think it's really cool that they like a lot of the picks, especially from super rare games in specific, that's the UK one, right? Like those are picks from people who don't really normally get that kind of attention too. So
right.
like Ryan, I know the guy that curates that stuff does make really good picks overall. Like he definitely is really has a knack for finding stuff and has a good balance of really cool like stuff you've probably seen on the itch front page and stuff that like no one's seen before. Maybe no one's seen it before the mixtape came out.
Yeah, and even
Um,
like that stuff on the
yeah.
itch front page, like in the grand scheme of
In
games
the grand scheme of
culture.
things, that's not particularly like a lot of publicity. No.
Yeah, yeah, that is
Um,
not like what you think is popular within. Itch is not usually popular in the slightest.
yeah, but it's kind of tough, because like I always see people wanting to do zines of like all sorts of different things, like zines for art and zines for music and stuff
Yeah,
like that. But like there isn't too much of that for games out there that has that same indie vibe.
right, right,
Um,
and that's
yeah.
what I was. That's the inspiration from me doing this in the first place was seeing so many like comic zines and stuff like that. and it's like,
Yeah, it's a really cool thing, and honestly, I hope to be a part of it someday. Like, I have stuff that you could technically just like take in if you wanted to,
yes,
but
I had a minor question for you about that, but that is NDA stuff, technically, for the prime.
technically, you could always message me about it though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
like
but
especially
anyway,
with
yes,
Sky Hour stuff, because like Sky Hour for me is like the way I view Sky Hour works. Like the stuff we do is like it's kind of close to like a Dojin circle,
yeah,
like stuff like we want to be kind of like I want to say that the queer American friendship bread, like
right,
the
right,
studio. So making a lot of really unique games and like having like a whole set of characters and universe and stuff that people really gravitate to.
yeah. I
Yeah,
am a
and
big fan of just like the Doshin culture is very different than what we have in the U.S. In like
mhm,
the indie spaces, and I think it's cool that kind of like loose collaborative sort of stuff. Uh,
right.
but also like yeah, it's kind of like small. It's just also like a very different like market, like more like those kind of like indie cons from talking to people who have like attended those sorts of things.
Yeah, like Comic Cat and stuff.
Yeah, it's a very different like vibe of. I mean, part of it is probably just like it's a much smaller country than the U.S. So events are more easily accessible to everybody.
I mean, they also have public transportation that's like good.
Right, right,
you
right,
know, but
right.
for one,
I'm in New England, and it's to me to get to Toronto by train. It's a 24-hour train ride.
oh yeah, that's not great.
No, and that's not even because of the length. That's just like the timings of it all. I have to go down, and what is a 1 hour flight turns into a day long train ride.
Yeah.
But that is
It,
it's sorry.
it's so surreal because like talking about this stuff, it's really cool to be a part of this stuff, but also sometimes I feel disconnected from it because Unbeatable, which is like kind of my full-time job, is like
Yes.
very much its own beast at this point. Like in terms of like the scale, I wouldn't necessarily say like scope fully, but it is like a bigger budget release with like a big team behind it, and like it's a project that really needs a producer in a way
Yes.
that like some indie projects can get away with like just everyone kind of sort of being on top of things together, right? That's a project where like you could be like, oh, you're a producer on the game, right? Like, so what do you do as a producer? And it's like basically everything. And if I'm not there, things can fall apart,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so.
I had years ago. I had the experience of at a global game jam, finding myself being a producer, which is something I was not expecting.
How
And
big was that team?
there was like 12 people. The game was
Oh, that feels like nothing.
no, the game was terrible. It was not even finished. But it was a fun time, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's just speaking of dcell games. I introduced you briefly at the top, but tell me a little bit about like what your work is in general. What do you do?
Oh my God. So I was like, man, like people ask me that question. It's like I don't know how to answer that. So here we are trying to figure out how to answer that. Really, it's mostly team and project management,
Yeah.
PM stuff. If you want to like think about it on the software side of things, I do level design for it, and I'd say I'm the lead for it now since other people also take care of that. So level design as in the game's charts. So if you play rhythm game, the way the notes come down, like the kind of patterns that kind of form from that you have to hit to, that's kind of like the thing I specialize in for the game. So I did the majority of it, and then eventually, like we in a recent patch, actually had these levels, but we actually redid quite a lot of those levels with some people going in and like completely just throwing out my old stuff, my old charts, and making new ones,
Yeah.
right? So I was responsible for like kind of directing and leading that kind of that side of things. That's like the stuff I feel like I'm most creatively tapped into for the project. But I mean, the other thing that I don't really talk about is I am like one of the legal business owners for the company, despite kind of us structurally being like a studio where like a lot of our staff do have a lot of like say in decisions. Like we don't want to make decisions
Right.
without the consent of our like team, right? And without the team being at least aware of what's going on. Um, but like, you know, and when it comes to executing those decisions and stuff, I am the person that legally is responsible for that, right? I'm one
That
of a
is
lot of other
the true
things.
fun of the indie space: legal
Yes,
obligations.
I mean the I bet everyone's least favorite part in the indie
Yeah.
space is all the paperwork and busy work. So,
Right. Right.
that's like probably 30% of my time spent at dcell, is just dealing with the paperwork, the emails, and like a lot of the other stuff, like the logistics and stuff,
Yeah.
you know.
I have a day job for that.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
theoretically, dcell is my day
Right.
job,
Yes, it
yeah.
is. Yes, that is
So,
the that's the beauty of it's uh, in, it's good to have it as a day job. I think part of it is nice that like a day job involves like some degree of like uh, I don't want to call it paperwork is like non-creative work. It keeps you from just like draining yourself to some extent.
yeah, it's like there's like changes of paces. So that's like kind of why I am working a lot of different things, even though it is definitely a huge burden on me. For the record, I'm like 22, and this stuff hasn't kind of like dragged me down too hard yet.
Right.
But like I have a set of work like between like this and like an NDA project that's I would argue a lot less creatively fulfilling. One end of that is like a lot of business stuff, and the other end is like programming, which I would argue like specifically because I'm doing a lot of the tasks at behest of you know the director for that project. For the record, for the NDA thing, I'm not allowed to say what the game is, just that
Right.
I am working on it and what I do on it. But
It's
yeah,
part
like
of we're not here to break hot
yeah,
exclusives here on Indiepocalypse Radio.
yeah, no, not at all. But like just like for stuff like that,
Yeah.
like I would argue a lot if I like the work on games I tend to get paid for. The closest I get to that stuff that's creatively fulfilling is the occasional writing jobs I've taken. So I've done dialogue and script writing for games.
Yeah.
Um, with such as Noise Starlight, which is a mobile rhythm game. So I did my writing work on that quite a bit a while ago, and stuff like that. But SKYHOURWORKS is like kind of like my space to be very creatively fulfilled by the fact that these games are like the stuff that's been in my head since high school. So I've been
Right.
wanting to make these games since high school, and I'm directly producing, programming, writing, like doing a lot of that stuff for these like projects that I kind of get like a very ragtag small group of friends together with,
Yeah.
to make. Yeah, and then on the other end, having work that pays that is not related to games at all is nice
Yes. Yeah. No,
because
that is
uh,
that's my bread
so
and butter. Uh,
so I have the day job which is making games, which is like it's fulfilling work, but it's not creatively fulfilling,
right.
like not fully. Like I love working at dcell and also doing like work on the NDA stuff,
Yeah.
for the
But
record, don't get me wrong,
there's the
but like
drive of an artist to want to like make something of your own from
I,
start to finish.
yeah, I want to lead my own thing. So that's where the Skyward stuff comes in, right?
Yeah.
And then naturally, I just don't want to think about games at all. Although, that's a little difficult when my part-time job is sort of related to that. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So 3 gigs, kind of balancing 3 gigs, the arcade visits, the time hanging out with friends, and all of that. It's a bit of a tough balancing act, but it's like been a lot more stable than I thought it'd be. So,
Right. And
my therapist is impressed.
learning
So
it early is keeps you from burning yourself out, which I think which that's my secret to the game industry is I'll just survive everyone else burning themselves out, and I'll just
oh yeah.
in 10 years I'll be the only one left, or there'll be a new people and I'll just be the old guard simply through attrition.
Listen, as my mindset is, if I can get like probably like all the SKYHOURWORKS projects that I want like released and done,
Yeah.
I'm fine with being done with games.
Right.
That's where I'm at. Like so the thing I haven't really told too much people about is like the world of like all the games we've done for SKYHOURWORKS, at least all the mainline stuff, not stuff that's been, like I published like Vivid Stasis, which is done by a different team that has no direct connection to us. Like that stuff, the main stuff that we do is supposed to like connect into like this like singular world called Natura, and there is like a final story for it that is like the worst thing I could say is like basically I'm doing like an Avengers thing at the end, um but like yeah, but I want that instead of it being like, oh, now they're all connected. So now every single time you do a new game, there's gonna be like 2 or 3 characters from the last game, right? Kind of deal, like also showing up.
Right.
But like instead, like that is the end point. When they come together, that's when the story like kind of ends, and then like the future of that world is like that would be like a new generation thing, a new thing. That's something that I don't necessarily care if I have a hand in or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's a whole like it's nice to have that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Low stress collaboration.
Yeah,
And
collaboration myself because it's a collab on all of our own games,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So,
Are you
but
are you familiar with Lame Dimension?
yes, I am familiar with
Okay.
those guys. Those guys are cool. I got
Yeah.
to hang out with them at MagFest and play like Dreamcast fighting games with them like one night. So,
Yes, I was gonna say they have a very similar vibe of a giant mass of people just kind of making games in a shared universe thing. I remember.
yeah. My mindset with it is that like we want to tell this stories but also make unique experiences with each game. So
Yeah.
like I want every game that these characters are from to be different games entirely, right?
Yes.
So they
Yes.
have so like Space Out Pilot's like this idle game, and the Nightmare Ship is a visual novel. Our new project, Read the Sea Voice, is a adventure game with ARG elements, which is really neat. And then afterwards, I want to start making action games, you know, and like start making some more action stuff. And RPG fiends too, probably for that whole thing.
Yeah. That's the interesting thing that it's kind of like the approach that I yearn for like an episodic thing is that it has different genres a lot and different play styles because it's very
hmm
in the way that episodes of a show can have different kind of stylistic approaches to them.
I mean, if I really want to have this like fully expansive world, it feels natural that like every character that I like tell the story of should have
Yeah.
a game that's like tailor made to them,
Yeah.
right? A game that really suits their mechanics. So, like, I want if a certain character has this kind of story, like naturally the game I feel like should be this kind of game, right? And follow
Yeah.
in the footsteps of that. The final game probably would be some kind of, it would be a pretty I would honestly say in terms of the gameplay, like because I thought ahead of this for a while in my mind, but like this quote unquote final game would be disappointingly kind of like mechanically pretty simple by comparison because it's taking a lot of different characters and finishing their stories, but it's doing so in a pretty typical like format, like action kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So obviously, like that's still something I want to think through, but like that's probably the worst possible thing that could happen with that kind of premise. Is like the end point is like mechanically the least interesting because it is servicing characters from so many different kinds of
Right.
games that the
Right.
only answer is to make something that's a bit of a derivative form to like connect different characters from different like
But
types of
but
experience
if
over.
none of the other games are like that up to that point, it's kind of like its own thing.
Yeah.
Uh, Speaking of what's it gonna call it? Characters across a myriad of universes and all sorts of things in that milieu. I have a question here. It's unofficially. It's no longer here within the question queue, but I've gotten so used to asking it every week, and I now myself am personally curious with each of the guests. So I need to ask you: do you
Mhm.
have a favorite Toho character?
Shit.
No.
I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
if you want to go by like Toho character that I own the merch of, it's like one Reimu figure. So
Yeah.
maybe her. I don't play Toho too much, but like
Okay.
Reimu's pretty up to, and I like Cerno as well. But like that's also because Cerno's song has like five different like particularly well-known online remixes that appear in every fucking rhythm game. So
Yes.
you know.
I've been
I,
learning about it in recent weeks.
Yeah, if you play an arcade rhythm game, it's probably got literally a whole like how there's like genres for music,
Yeah.
right? There's just a genre in these games that's just Toho, like literally just Toho, and it has basically all the Toho songs that everyone likes from Nico Nico. So
Well, perfect. Perfect.
yeah,
Jerry, thank you for being here. Uh,
yeah, of course.
our segment has already, believe it or not, has already come to an end. It breezes by so quickly.
Oh
But
man.
we're going to go a break soon. Uh, and we'll be back with our next guest. So see you all on the other half of 1 minute and 49 seconds, approximately. Oops.
Woohoo.
Hello, welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was Melted Ice Cream with Vacaciones. Vacation. Oh no, I'm losing my accent. I think I double get. I think I second guessed myself when I was right the first time. Vacaciones. Anyways, no, it's vacation. Anyway, I'm gonna get in my head too long about used to being good at pronouncing Spanish. But that's beside the point. We are here with our next guest, who you may know from Indiepocalypse issue 39, with reincarnated as an adorable walking rock in a peaceful gardening sim game. It is Melomix. Melomix, hello. How are you doing?
Hi. It's like 7 a.m. here.
Yes.
I put like 3 alarms on my phone because I was so worried that I wouldn't wake up. But I did.
That's what I do for important. Well, I have one alarm on my phone, but if I'm really worried,
Yeah.
I have one on my computer as well.
Yeah.
That's when I'm worried about waking up. But no, you've made it here in time.
Yeah. And I just want to say hi to a couple of people in the chat. Wellvoice and not sure how to pronounce your name as ZYM92, but there are people that I've met from Game Jams, so it's nice to see them here.
Yes. Well, perfect. Yeah, this is part of this thing is, I mentioned in the first segment that I'm not really a community builder, but I like the idea of putting people in the same room, I think there's there's a difference between, like, I think community building feels like it's a very specific thing right now, that feels marketing adjacent.
Yeah, it's definitely a job.
Yeah, and my goal is to be like, what if community in the same way that, like, you kind of see each other at cons all the time, but we don't always have to be like fully dedicated to being in Discord channels and all those sorts of things.
Yeah. It's true.
More low stress. But speaking of, nope, that was not the right transition. Let me say, I need to know up front, how did you hear about Indiepocalypse?
Oh yeah, so I was just browsing game jams on itch, and that's how I saw it. So like I literally was just sitting down and looking through all the game jams on itch, looking for stuff to join.
And I try to put I think about maybe a year and a half in, I was like, what if I start putting paying anthology on the front of this thing? Hopefully,
oh yeah,
that'll draw people's
definitely
eyes.
Attracted me.
Yeah. And then you have to learn that you don't have to actually do anything else. You just have to already have the game you have. That is
Yeah, it's really great. Also, all your cover art is so nice. Like I've just been looking at everything as it's been flashing on the screen.
Oh yeah.
It's so good.
That is a huge. Also, I found a huge boon at local events, like in-person events. It really draws people in, even if sometimes afterwards they say, "Sorry, I'm not a gamer."
But you will be after this.
Yeah, and I try to convince them, like, well, these aren't video games like you think they are. This isn't.
Yeah.
These aren't like. I found actually, what turns a lot of people off when they say that, it's not like the shooter of it. It's not like, oh, I don't like violent, video murder games. It's like games waste a lot of time, don't they? Or games take a lot of your time, don't they? Like that's I found to be actually the more common, like, negative impression people have on them.
Yeah, I think maybe there's just like a lot of cultural baggage with the word gamer. Like when you say gamer, it's supposed like it implies maybe a certain kind of person or a certain kind of lifestyle. But I mean, everyone plays games, right? Like kids, like everyone plays games of different kinds. So
I think lifestyle is the right word for it, because I think that's what people are assuming that is well, if I'm going to play a video game, I better carve out 80 hours of my life to play this game.
Right.
Rather than
I have to be hardcore.
Right, exactly. And rather than like, oh no, because even like, casual, quote unquote casual games, like mobile games, they still expect you to like log on constantly and like
yeah.
And always be like, gacha games are as hardcore as any kind of other game, in that they require so much of your time or money.
Oh yeah, that's like a whole other topic, like the dark patterns of mobile games.
Right. The like, with these things are just casinos with anime JPEGs on them.
Yeah. That's so true.
But people pay money for their anime JPEGs, or they're probably PNGs, because they probably have transparencies.
They need the transparency. Yeah.
Yes, they're PNGs. I'm sorry. Sorry to all the anime JPEG fans out there. They're anime PNGs, or maybe GIFs if you're nasty, or
yeah.
Or what's that format that's like the kind of weird breathing 2D thing?
Live 2D.
Live 2D, yes.
Yeah.
There could be some live 2Ds in there.
Yeah. I mean, I've spent money on like stupid mobile games.
Yeah.
I think there was one I played called Bread Kitten. I don't know if anyone played this, but you like throw bread at cats to try and like they're like Pokemon, like you have to catch them and have them in your collection.
Yeah.
And when you catch them, like they wear the slice of bread on their head, and I spent real money on like buying some special color of cat or whatever.
That's the thing is they all the sounds get to you eventually in the pictures, because you're like, oh, it's just $4. What have I spent I've spent $4 on stupider things in my life, you think? And then
Yeah.
The pattern
So true.
is not spending $400 million on it.
Yeah. Like that's something that as a game dev, it's kind of like, okay, be the change that you want to see in the world, right? So if I am trying to make mobile games, like I'm trying to go in that direction too. So I want my mobile games to all have like no ads. If they have microtransactions, they're just for purely cosmetic stuff, and like nothing is like a gacha.
Right.
And like no like thing where you have to subscribe to something, like it's like a one-time purchase basically kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I would love to do.
So many of them have subscriptions now too. Like I'm admitted to occasionally firing up my BlueStacks and like, what is this gotcha? Because I'm weirdly fascinated by it sometimes, like how they're built.
I like that. Yeah, I like that we're admitting to this. Like it's a dark secret. Like, oh yeah, I've spent money on some mobile game microtransaction.
See, it's funny though, because I feel like I spent way more money on like games of cosmetics than I do with games of gacha, because like it feels like it's a lot more inconsequential than like knowing like literally that like these kind of gacha games will make the odds worse for you if you actually spend money on it. So
right.
like
or the idea that you just don't get what you. I mean, they're gachapon machines. It's the etymology, you know.
The other thing too is that like a lot of these gacha games tend to be single player, and they also tend to be designed in certain ways that like, when you're like they're pretty isolating experiences on their own.
Yeah.
But like apart from like showing the characters that you own, they also just end up being pretty tedious to just play through. Like you get the characters, and now what? You just played the same game and tried to get more, and like it's like a never-ending kind of cycle of just playing and playing. Like in a way that is effectively a lifestyle. There's like the lifestyle games and all that, right?
That's where I'm fascinated. Because I'm fascinated by seeing how different gacha games like build their treadmills, and like how they put up their walls and what their walls are. And like
yeah.
But speaking of putting up walls and building things, tell me a little bit about your game reincarnated as an adorable walking rock in a peaceful gardening sim game.
Oh, yeah. So first of all, the title started like as a kind of joke. I was kind of workshopping the game title with my boyfriend, and I was like, oh, I could call it like, something with garden, but like something short, just like 2 words. And then we were going back and forth. And then I said, oh, what if I call it like this really long name? Reincarnated as an adorable walking rock in a peaceful gardening sim game. And as I said it, I laughed. I made myself laugh so hard at my own joke. And so I decided that had to be the title.
Yeah. And long titles are... people are more than used to them at this point.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know if both you and Jeffrey watch isekai anime because obviously that's where I got the inspiration for having such a long title.
I do not. I don't know if there's an isekai that I like.
I mean,
okay,
I'm very turned off by the genre personally.
I mean, is it like a specific style of like that, like kind of Japanese, like light novel isekai you're talking about, or you're just talking about like an isekai in general? Because there's like different kinds of isekai.
Right.
Like, you could argue Digimon is an isekai.
Do we get in the form list of...
definitely Digimon's probably the first like one of the first like major isekai anime out there too.
Right.
So
do we start getting isekai theory? Do we start saying is Wizard of Oz an isekai?
I mean, Wizard of Oz is an isekai.
Right.
That's true.
That's so true.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, at its core, it's just other world. But I would say my turnoff is with the specific what feels like the wish fulfillment isekai genre. This feels very dominant.
Which is like that's like pretty much all.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, 99% of isekai. I mean, I personally just love the long titles because it's like one look and I know exactly what I'm signing up for in the show. Like, I already know the synopsis. It's in the title.
and I have not listen, I'm not here to shame people who like different things. That feels like that's a weird thing to say because but I'm used to being on the internet where we say you don't like something, people are like, how dare you invalidate my way of life.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they have it's also like a good sign to me. It's like, oh, I don't have to be interested in it because the title is so long.
Yeah.
As a heavy comics reader, I know it benefits me to be like, oh yes, this was probably a light novel at first too.
Yeah.
Which is this whole other.
Yeah.
But the game itself, we got sidetracked talking about titles. And
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I think I was kind of well, I've been a gamer for a long time. Like I've been gaming since I was a kid, and I had a very busy year last year. So basically, I've been a working artist for probably more than 15 years now. And last year I was just so busy, and I took on so many projects, and I was feeling really burned out. And I was like, okay, at the start of 2023, I have to take a break and do something else. So basically game dev is like one of those things that I just got into. I also got into pottery. Right. So I just wanted like a creative outlet that's different from my usual work, which is in print design for like fashion and wallpaper, stuff like that. So I wanted something totally different. And I was just thinking I want to do a gardening game that the type of which I haven't really seen before. So basically, I was just making something for myself and hoping that other people might like it as well. So pretty much all of the decisions that I made in terms of the game design are like answers to the question, okay, what kind of thing do I want to see in this game?
Right.
I want a unicorn. I'm gonna put it in my game. I want like some cute little trees. I'm gonna put them in my game.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's the benefit of like doing things, for fun as an escape. There is, and that's part of what I like is that games don't have to be like a career path every single time you make one.
Yes, totally.
You can make one casually as an escape from a different artistic career path.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, and I like to kind of like hit all of those types of developers that are hitting across all fields of like I would do this as a passion project. I do this as an escape, it's hobbies. I think hobbies are underappreciated as like hobbies.
Yeah, for sure. Like I know that Jeffrey also mentioned this earlier, where it's like, when you're working on something that's for your job versus working on something that's a hobby, like it's a different feeling. Like you're not thinking about, okay, is this commercially appealing?
Right.
Is this marketable? Which are things you have to think about for your job, but not for like a fun little hobby.
Right. I don't have to worry about like, is this thing gonna make any money, or is
Yeah,
this?
yes.
I don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. So it's nice to like separate yourself from that and kind of, you know, find a little space to make something that gives you a little time away from, you know, pattern design or any kind of other art design you're making. And even then, and these things feed into each other, you know, anyway, you know, design.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Like you do not come to game design with zero artistic sensibilities, you know. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, even as like a job, it's still a creative like
Right,
field,
right.
you know, it's still a creative thing to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It is a it is you know, would not get into game design if it was not a creative field as well. Uh, it's still
Yeah, that's true.
it's still definitely like it's just that one of those like you know, something will inevitably become once your livelihood depends on something, there it adds a stress whether you want it there or not.
Yes, that's so true. Like, I mean, basically, drawing, like, I've been drawing since I was a kid. Like, drawing was like a way for me to, it was like my escape. It's like my stress relief.
Right.
And then it became my livelihood. So it was no longer an escape.
Right.
So, you know, and now I need something else.
Yeah. I think that's more what I was trying to say is like more like a not an escape to a place where there is creativity, but more to simply an escape.
Yeah.
To an escape from stress or the possibility of stress, and also you know everyone takes a different approach to these sorts of things. But speaking of being a lifelong gamer, now given that it's 7 a.m. Where you are, I would say you probably are not in the U.S. So what is gaming? What is growing up as a gamer look like in your neck of the woods?
Well, okay, well, I'm here in Manila in the Philippines, and uh it's a very it's actually a very Americanized culture. So
Okay.
I think we kind of had uh you know, we get like the same movies, the same games, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But definitely I would say one difference from like when I was a kid gaming versus now is that when I was a kid, gaming was definitely seen as like this shameful, like this shameful, wasteful activity. Like all the parents would be like blaming your bad grades and like gaming, like, oh, that's because you game too much, you're on the computer too much, like that kind of thing. And I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, sometimes it was true.
Right. Yes.
But I'm sure that, you know, parents back in the day would never have imagined that today there's people making like a legitimate like career out of gaming. There's like professional gamers now. There's
Right.
we have like a former senator here in the Philippines who's now like become like a game streamer.
Okay.
So
Wait, a game streamer
yeah.
after being a senator?
Yeah, after being
Okay.
a senator, he's like he was like, I'm gonna start like, hey guys, come to my game stream. He's like, yeah, so he's cool. So
Yeah, I was
I
expecting.
think it's definitely it's like a legitimate thing now.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
weird thing to see is like how everyone, like almost everyone, like in like a mildly like creative or even just like public facing field is becoming a streamer at some point in their life. It's like it's very strange to see, but in some ways it makes a lot of sense. Seeing,
Yeah.
like every celebrity or celebrity adjacent or celebrity aspirational person also has his Twitch stream, and you get them in their corner playing some video game.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's definitely a thing, yeah.
right, like this combination of more people grew up with games, so they just play games now, and you know, mixed with hustle culture, mixed with everything else, and you get
Yeah. And it's like the people who grew up with games, like I guess from like you know, Gen X and millennials and stuff, grew up and now have like the disposable income to to spend on whatever games they like, and so it's also a whole industry.
Right. I'm an adult. If I want a video game, I don't have to wait for a birthday. I can just go out into the store and buy it.
Yes, exactly.
I don't have to do any kinds of weird chores or try to figure anything out like that.
Listen,
But
no one
Yeah,
stopped
yeah,
me from going to the arcade all the time, so
right, yeah. Going to arcade with like
exactly.
quarters, please, and that is your lifeblood. That is the entirety of your arcade is sitting in your hands at the beginning, and it's like, how do you ration it? And I think in a weird way,
Yeah,
it like draws you to like specific types of games that you like. What games am I good at? Or what games can I get a lot out
yeah.
of?
what games waste the least of my money and time?
Yes, exactly. Right, but now they have like so many like arcades just have like cards now, especially if they're more established and they've been around for a little longer. They just have like kind of Metro cards almost, but for arcades. And it's,
Mm-mm.
and even then it's like abstracting it even further in my adult mind, where it's just a card now with money on. I just put money on this card that has arcade stuff inside of it. Or
Yeah.
or
Do you
that
think it's also that like because we're like at this, well, I'm like in my mid 30s.
yeah.
I have this feeling that like people my age have kind of risen up through the ranks and become like the decision makers at some of the, big media companies like Netflix or whatever
Yeah.
games. And I feel like that's why we're getting like 90s nostalgia stuff,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Or
yes.
like remakes of whatever from like our generation.
Yes, I am of roughly the same age. I'm in my also mid 30s. The old man Indiepocalypse in my early
Come on, it's not
30s.
that old.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. It's like you are. It's like wow, look, we're. Well, I mean, also doing this, you tend to run like I tend to have a lot of just like younger people on here in general, like
Mm-mm.
fucking
You're talking to one of
fresh young
them.
22-year-olds are like, wait a minute, what did you, I'm but yes, it is it's a young, well, that's part of the brutality of it burning everyone out constantly, and it is what kind of either you become established or you do something else, and it's kind of is that trickiness of it, or you usually don't enter, or fewer people enter in their 30s or and beyond. But nothing's stopping you from making a game, your very first game at 60.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. It's like it's not like you have to go get like an official license from
Yeah,
somewhere to be able to make a game.
right. There isn't some cool teen who's gonna be turning you away because you're too old. They're not gonna like no, thank you. You're not even on TikTok. Get out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a I mean part of that is the kind of, and especially I know the feeling is crushing. I don't think that's an American thing of if you don't accomplish anything when you're young, you don't accomplish anything. That is that 30 under 30 mentality of
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, ageism. I think it's
yes,
global. Yeah.
of like, why haven't you accomplished anything yet? Uh, but I guess that's how. From what I can tell, 30 under 30 is a fast track to prison.
Oh,
or simply the worst vibes of a person you've seen in your life. Usually, no disrespect to 30s and 30s in the chat, but I don't trust any of you. Uh,
You're all sus.
big silver spoon vibes. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like hey, there's how you get a like there's some built-in legacy there that is usually not talked about. But anyway, speaking of 30s under 30s, you know what there's under 30 of Toho official Toho games. And Melamix, I need to ask you this question before we go to break. Do you have
Sure,
a
sure.
favorite Toho character?
Um, don't be mad. I don't know what I'm not really familiar with Toho,
No,
so
that's fine because
don't be mad.
it's like a 50-50 hit rate on this thing, and that's part of why
Yeah.
I like asking the question, getting people's like perspectives, and if they even know what it is. I had one person who, because technically speaking, I should be putting a little bit more emphasis on the U's,
Mm-hmm.
to emphasize the correct pronunciation, but I'm gonna speak it quickly with my English tongue. And someone thought I was referring to Toho, the long-standing Japanese production company, Godzilla and all that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But
I'm literally looking it up now.
there's shrine maidens and witches and vampires and demons and sleepy librarians and all sorts of things like that. They're
Okay.
they're bullet hells, but then there's a lot of fan games that can be anything else.
I see there's a wiki with a list of characters.
Yes, there's a lot of them. But anyway,
Cool. Okay.
they're good designs, strong design sensibility on that series, and I think that's part of the big draw to it. And good music, as the aforementioned good music. 32. Oh, I've been hit by the correction segment. Every podcast, every podcast dread to be hit by the correction segment. There are 32 co-hosts or 32 Tohos.
So there's 32 Toho characters. What does that
No,
mean?
official Tohos.
No, games. Like official games developed by Zone, the like original developer.
Ah, I see. Okay.
But you know what? It wouldn't be a true podcast unless I got hit by a hard fact correction. Anyway, what a sovereign moment to enter this second break period. But we are. Oh hell, who's this there? Okay, that's friend of the show. I got a message. I thought it was this Discord, but it was instead a friend of the show Discording me with other art related things. But anyway, Relomix, thank you for being on the show. We're gonna go to a quick break, real quick.
Thank you.
And then we'll be back with everyone. Thank you for being in the zine. I forgot to say that one because I was not in the habit of saying it. Thank you for making the game, submitting it. I like to have them all, and I like to.
Yay! Thanks for having me.
It's this thing doesn't exist without people making the games, And I like the people making the games, and I hope other people like them as well. That's why this all exists, to get people to be like. I don't know, a place that people can find games in, and also so developers should make a little bit of money off of them.
Thank you.
The terrifying thing of people telling me, "Thank you, this is the most money I've ever made off of my games," and I'm like, "Uh-oh."
I mean, that's true for me because it's a hobby.
Yes, right. And, I think there have been people in less hobby standpoints, or maybe aspirationally less hobby standpoints, where I've also heard that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's go on the break. Bye for 151.
Oh yes.
Hello, and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was Hazy Sour Cherry with "I Want to Kill Your Girlfriend." Part of my unofficial pirate radio aspect of Indiepocalypse Radio, which is I buy music and I play it and I make people listen to it, But anyway, we're back. The whole gang is here officially. The whole gang was always here, but now it's the whole gang is here. In the imagined version of whatever this show is, in this digital radio show station, we're cruising into the final segment. Hello. We're talking briefly about fast food, and actually, wait a minute. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think strangest thing. Yes, my God. For me, we were talking in the break. Melamix was talking about the closeness of a Panda Express,
Yeah.
which is I think is a very strange thing to have outside of America and to have within the Oceania kind of space, the Southeast Asia space.
Yeah. I mean, we have things here that were from the US but are no longer in the US. Like we have Kenny Rogers here,
Okay.
like as a restaurant.
Right.
We have the Kenny Rogers restaurant. We still have I think Shakey's is still around in the US, but like not so big as it is here in the Philippines.
Yeah. That's one of those like fascinating things about like how like brands just kind of persist across the world and they just kind of become weird fixtures somewhere else.
Yeah. Like they crossed the ocean and then they got stranded on this other country.
Right. Like we have a lot of chicken restaurants, and so then maybe they died out, but maybe you didn't have as many fried chicken, like American fried chicken places.
Yeah. And like the Kenny Rogers brand restaurant, it's still going pretty strong. Like they've updated their brand look recently. They have a lot of branches. So it's not even like a dying brand or
Right.
like something that's just hanging around.
How is Kenny Rogers culturally over there in Manila? How many people? How popular at karaoke is The Gambler?
So like many Filipinos, I really only know it as a restaurant.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. That's one of the fascinating kind of like. I think about that with like the Flintstones in America.
Yeah.
On like the vitamins and cereal. Like, do people know that?
Oh yeah.
A cartoon.
Yeah. We have that too, both the vitamins and the cartoon.
Right, like the cereal. Like, do people know that like because it's easy to like, oh, those are just cereal mascots like anybody else, not like that used to be a primetime television show.
Yeah. I love those old school cartoons though, like all the like Flintstones and of course the Jetsons, their counterpart as well, like
that whole Hanna-Barbera like
yes. Yeah.
The Boomerang channel. I don't know if that's the thing where you're at.
Now we had Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Boomerang is like a subsidiary of.
It was like an offshoot channel, like kind of like for Cartoon Network, specifically the ones that would have like a bunch of like the older shows, like the Hanna-Barbera selection and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember when it started. Like I feel like there was like previews of like here's Boomerang Hour or whatever as they were starting the channel. Now, and the nice thing is though, it's not. Channels are no longer a back in my day sort of thing. They're coming back, baby.
Yeah.
Channels are coming back strong as streaming platforms all fragment and everything. And we're going kind of like right back where we started.
Yeah. Also the thing about like cartoons, okay, not like cartoons as old as Flintstones, but like I think it would be maybe 90s or maybe early 2000s cartoons, was that some of them like when I look back on it now, it's like I can't believe they showed this cartoon to children. Like I was a child when I watched things like, they had like Cow and Chicken, Ren and Stimpy, those kinds of cartoons. Even like Rocco's Modern Life.
Yes.
And some of the jokes are very like mature. You know what I mean?
Right. Is that kind of like a gross out era of American? Yeah. I feel like there was a. I don't keep up with cartoons, understandably, as I'm not. I'm an adult, but I feel like we are now kind of like in an anime era of cartoon, like children's cartoons. This kind of more serialized, almost in some ways. Inspired sort of stuff, because that that's like you said earlier, those are the people now making things, the people who grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s.
That's true.
when they were kids sitting around the bookstore reading manga on the floor.
Yeah.
And now that's coming back. I'm getting a new bookstore near me soon. So,
Yeah, and even like some of the animes that were around when I was a kid are now getting reboots, like Trigun,
yeah.
Samurai X, Slam Dunk.
Yeah,
So
time is circular, except
yeah,
they changed Vash's hair to make him cooler, more in line with modern sensibilities, perhaps.
yeah. So I think that's why like I don't really bother keeping up with like trends because whatever I'm into will become trendy in, I don't know, 5 or 10 years
Yeah, right.
or however long it takes for the cycle to come back.
Right. Eventually, be like, yes, I can tell you all about Vash the Stampede. I'm ready to explain. You've all,
You know the saying, what's old is new again, you know?
yeah. These kids discovering this Vash Wolfwood dynamic, and it's like, let me tell you about GeoCity sites that existed a million years ago. You know.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Old. Oh my God. I kind of miss Web 1.0. Like how it was like not so polished and someone even brought back like the old Neopets. There's like a Neopets classic website where they're like rebuilding it from scratch
Yeah.
to make it like the old Neopets.
I think is it NeoCities? Is that what I'm thinking? Yeah, NeoCities kind of exists now within that sort of aesthetic, but part of it feels like people are intentionally recreating GeoCities, if that makes sense. But where GeoCities was just being itself, you know, that was Web 1.0. That was just how it looked because that's what people were doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like it is with NeoCities is more like it's simply biting on the Web 1.0 aesthetics rather than just like carving their own personal like this is what I want to make a website that looks like because I just made it myself kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember when like tiny, like really tiny text was like trendy in websites, and you'd have like a little tiny window that had like your website embedded in it. It was so cute.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring it back.
Right. I always encourage regularly on the show for people to make their own websites. You know, nothing's stopping you.
Yeah.
HTML did not change. It's still HTML. It's just.
Oh, you know what else I'm bringing back? You know those like little like virtual pets you could get for your desktop? Yes. I just learned how to make like a game window transparent in Godot, so
okay.
I am totally making like a little desktop pet.
Yeah, there's a very good like Natalie Lawhead has a very good like I think a whole playlist of like desktop pets that might just be called desktop pets on itch.
So I'm gonna look it up right now.
there are people. Let me see if I can't find that playlist.
Desktop pets.
Oops!
There's
I
lots
did the
in
thing
it.
where I didn't type the full sentence. But yeah, no, there is. I had little desktop pets, or you know, I was aware of them. Yes, there we go. I found it. Expert Google searcher.
Ooh, nice. Thank you.
There's.
Wow.
There might
These
be all
are so
there
cute.
specifically. Yes, it's all there specifically. There is another playlist somewhere, I think, that is all sorts of people's desktop pets. But
I love it.
I don't remember where that playlist is. I thought I was an expert at searching, but I was wrong. But yeah, there is, and that's part of a kind of general push towards like the customization of the computer, you know.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yes, here it is. The longer one that has all of them from everybody.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Oh, everything's so cute.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally hear you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
I totally hear you with regards to like making your own website, instead of relying on a particular platform. Um, I think it was Cory Doctorow who said something like, internet now is just like 5 big websites composed of like screenshots of the other websites.
Yeah, somebody certainly said that, and that is
Yeah.
that is a true feeling that is like, yeah, everything is just Tumblr is screenshots of Twitter, which is screenshots of Instagram, which is screenshots of TikTok, which is screenshots of Tumblr, and it all goes full circle.
Yeah.
And it's this all
Yeah,
kind of
that's
like
just yeah.
we're
What I
living
miss
in the
about
worst
Web
version of
1.0.
forums.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a not. It feels like a very you know, the good old days, as if forums were not also there was not also terrible things there, you know. But I
Oh
think
yeah, for sure.
That's true. That's true.
I
But I
think
also want it to be like, I don't know, try to also make it part of the future where we all still have our own individual websites.
yeah, I think that is a cool thing to have. As I'm a big proponent of just having your own space, you know.
Yeah, especially because you can't rely on the existence of these other places
Yes.
forever.
Uh,
So if you really want your like mark here, like around to like actually like stick, you just gotta keep that place yourself best you can.
Right. It's part of why I am very slow to adopt new social medias, because if they matter, they'll stick around, and
Yeah.
then I'll go to them, except for TikTok, because I don't want to talk like that. I have never. I have. It's a. They've discovered a new formula of like insincerity and condescension that I've never seen before, and it's how everyone on TikTok talks when they're trying to sell you something, or even not trying to sell you something, and it instills madness in me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think big platforms in general are just prone to deterioration in general because of the way they're structured, where again, this is like, I think something I picked up from Cory Doctorow, where the platform is sitting as a middleman between people who are making content and people who are consuming content, and then the platform is taking things from both of those sides. Like
Right.
they'll charge the content creator to show stuff to people, and they will also charge people to view stuff. Not necessarily money, right? But like your personal data, your attention, and so on.
Right. It exists almost for itself in a way, and it's like I think about kind of seeing people like I saw recently someone talking about, the retention rate of like, the click through rate of anything is very low, but then there's a lot of people who just play the virality game of like just like posting whatever, in hopes that you'll get followers. But then like there's these layers and layers of like, I don't know, click through of like, I got a lot of followers by making memes of the day about whatever the current topic is. And then how do I convert those
Yeah.
people into caring about the thing that I actually make? And then how do I it feels
Yeah. Because like TikTok, and I mean, and I think not just TikTok, but other platforms as well.
yeah.
But TikTok specifically will do this, where they will, if there's like a new content creator on TikTok, and the platform wants to attract this creator to stay on the platform, they will proactively increase the views of that creator for a temporary period of time. Like they'll sort of boost it on the platform.
Right.
And then once this creator is already like dependent on the platform, they'll take away that boosting, and then you're kind of stuck on the platform, like a hamster in a hamster wheel, where you have to keep on making more and more content for less and less views
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
And it quickly devolves into the whole like it's just like a frame of mind where I would never see myself as like a content creator or using social media as a like as the kind of like power user, I guess, is how I've come to think of them, as people who just like use a platform a lot, but I don't know what else they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my kind
Yeah.
of, but that's also like because of my approach to social media is very much like, oh, this is an advertising platform, with mild social elements. But like, I'm not here for the platform itself. I like my approach is very platform agnostic. I have no allegiance to any kind of thing. I don't want to get good at Twitter. I want to use Twitter to make people pay attention to the thing.
Yeah. I agree with that approach.
People get way too into the weeds about like the numbers of these kind of things, like
Yeah.
how to like appease the algorithm. But I mean, the reality is like you're not going. The algorithm doesn't really mean much of anything in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So like treating Twitter is like that, like trying to win Twitter is a losing game in the
Right.
first place. So like, why treat it like a game that when you can't really win it in the first place? There's no
Yeah.
point in playing it, and no point in winning or trying to quote unquote win or lose it. I mean, because like it's fine if there is no win lose point in like something like that, but there is a lose point, and it just is for the amount of time investment you sink into like your idea or understanding of it, essentially.
Yeah. I remember seeing during one of the many deaths of Twitter, people being like, "This site isn't even that good. I get no. Look for how many followers I have. I get no one watching my Twitch stream or whatever." And I'm like, that's because what that person probably did is, like you said, they played the Twitter game and they were very good at winning Twitter. Well, what does that amount to ultimately?
Yeah,
In a lot of
I
ways.
agree that it is a losing game. And I think the main reason why it's a losing game is because the platform will never tell you the algorithm's rules, right? They'll give you some hints like, oh, we want you to do more videos or whatever,
Right.
like what Instagram did with Reels. But the platform can change the rules of the algorithm anytime. So you could spend like months or whatever trying to perfect your content creation system or something. And then tomorrow, Instagram will decide, oh, yeah, we're not boosting videos anymore
Right.
after
Right.
you spent
It's
all this
just,
time making videos and whatever.
it's whatever it feels. Well, it's their businesses is whatever draws the most attention to the site, and whatever keeps people engaged the most and clicking the most and making them the most money. Whatever boosts their profits is what they'll do.
Yeah, whatever is best for the shareholders.
Yeah, and that's for Twitter. That's the quote retweet game. I a lot of time, an inordinate amount of time that I spend on Twitter is looking at quote retweets and looking and thinking to myself, how did you find this person that you're quote retweeting? In what world did you find them? And then that's like, I realized when they forced the For You tab onto mobile, I was like, oh, that's where they found them. It's like people like, it's very like it knows like what is kind of like incendiary stuff. I think picks up quickly, and that's like their intention. Like that's like their intended use case. I think for the site.
Yeah.
Is like trying to get things that are like heavily engaged with, but engagements are like neutral, so they're just numbers. It's not like good engagement or bad engagement or whatever. It's just like numbers. What has a lot of numbers on it? What draws people there? That makes them feel like they're using it and want to keep using it.
Yeah. I think that's really the problem if a platform or an app, if it's making money primarily from advertisers and not primarily from its users, then it's not going to serve the users first, right?
Right.
So, well, also that's why I love itch so much, because like basically the whole like how the whole itch system works, it's so respectful towards creators, and at the same time, how they make money, which is just by creators voluntarily giving a percentage to them, is just that's just so great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those like necessities. I mean, but then you wonder I think a lot about the business of itch, like how Bandcamp has that like their like kicker on the front page,
Mm,
of like how much people have spent and that sort of thing. I'm always very curious what an itch ticker would look like.
yeah.
Mm.
And like what it, like is it focused on like because you can it's very clear in like the front page that like anything that is a higher profile release is like if you release it on itch, it's going to go there on the front page, like guaranteed. And they do tend to be more like very gameplay focused stuff, very traditional video games tend to be what featured on itch.
Yeah.
Like as someone who is like very in to that very like alternative non-game side of itch,
Yeah.
non-video gamey portion of it, and knows there's like a lot of that stuff out there.
Yeah.
Very little of it, or any of it, really ever gets that like front page feature, So it's like there is some kind of like intentionality, whether that's simply the taste of the people running the site. There is that some intentionality towards like what itch's like feature is like about and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think like one sort of like I don't know, like tab or something that I would like to see on itch, because like they have like popular, they have new and popular, right? I would want to see like old and underrated. It's like just
Right.
because, yeah, old because um like pretty much all the platforms are gonna show me like what's new, what's popular. But like what about old content? I mean, it's still there. It
Right.
doesn't mean that it's bad just because it's old, and and some people might not have seen it yet, right? So it's just kind of like a reaction against the thing of like platforms constantly kind of pressuring creators to always make new stuff.
Right. I myself have been struggling with this. I've been doing this for 40 months now. I also have a massive library of games.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to find ways to always like, highlight the back catalog as much as I can.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's part of why
I mean, yeah,
why on my own website, the issues are chronological. Like the very first issue is issue 1. That's in the top left.
yeah.
So there's not like an emphasis for like, oh, this is the new thing now. Only the new thing matters. That is like I'm trying to I think part of that comes to like curation, And
Yeah. I think I know of only one platform that will show old content. Like it's like a print design like marketplace, and they actually have a section called like the archive or something, which only shows like the old print designs. I guess Facebook will occasionally show you memories, you know that, and then
Right.
it'll show you like an awkward photo of you and your ex.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Something you need to think about right now. Something you need to remind yourself, oh, why didn't I delete that?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I have to untag myself from this photo.
Right.
Thanks for the memory.
Yeah. It's like, I do like that idea of like an archived like games, things over a certain age.
Oh, senior citizen games.
Yes, the senior center also be a tab.
Yeah, the elderly. I see that people in the chat also want more non-standard filters.
Right.
I wonder what some of their non-standard filters would be aside from like old stuff.
Right. Like genres. I think games need more genres. As silly as it sounds, or they need more less genres dependent on gameplay. Maybe I think.
So would you say like more genres depending on the vibe?
Yeah, like your traditional thematic genres in some cases, or more abstract genres. Genres are a horrible mess, and
Yeah.
and overly complicated, but also there's a benefit to them in some sense, into knowing like what Baroque pop is or whatever.
Yeah.
It has like a connotation and it carries stuff with it. But yeah,
I think maybe a filter. I know Itch has like a tag for like short games, but I think it would also be nice to filter by like how long maybe the intended gameplay is supposed to be. Like,
Yeah.
am I looking for a one sitting experience, or am I looking for something to sink 500 hours into?
Right, and you can put custom tags, but like how you find those tags is like, yeah, I kind of have to already be on. Actually, let me look. Do games have it? I think in more information, yeah, they have their tags in more information. But if they just had like the tags not in more information, it's one of those things of like you need to remove a click so people will actually go there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Squiggly Dot has mentioned some interesting classic genres like bugcore
Yes.
and bedroom bitsy.
Yes, I flirted with the idea of
Bugcore.
a friend suggested, because he has listened to a lot of talking about bedroom indie or bedroom pop is like a music genre, of using bedroom as like a genre to describe games, like bedroom dev sort of stuff.
What would be bedroom music? Would it be like shoegaze?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing is, I think it's like genre agnostic, and I think it might be partially like production of like somebody made in their bedroom.
Right. Okay. I'm very interested in this genre, bugcore, because it sounds like I can catch butterflies or something.
Or you
are a bug.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or you are a bug. Oh, that's an isekai. That's an anime. That's So I'm a spider. So what on Netflix?
Oh yeah, that one.
That one's so good because it's mostly about the spider character like eating, sleeping, and fighting.
Wait, why am I searching this? I know what this is, but I was like, what is this actually? That's one of the things is I don't know what any of them like actually are. There is like this.
In the chat, Slime Hunter said that Itch does have an average session length filter. Oh.
Right, and a lot of people don't.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I love that average length filter. As someone who has to play a lot of games as part of curation, I like to know sometimes going in to be like, does this have how long is this game? And someone will be like 4 hours. I'm like, thank you. I will not play this one today. I will play this one tomorrow.
Where do I put it? Like, if I'm looking at like my edit game page now, and it's like, where do I put here my game session?
Oh, where do you put it? Actually, great question. I never.
Right?
Oh, it's like a metadata page or something that you can access. That like you can like set certain things and that's like adds as like a tag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there, I see it now. So you have to go to edit game, and then you have to go to the metadata tab.
Yeah, and that's how you can you can also add tags for things like, does this have like, does this like use a keyboard only? Like certain other specific things that might be more informative to people.
Oh, I've never gone into this.
Oh, thank you. I was completely unaware of the existence of like these other tabs.
So was I. Or no, I knew it was there, but it's like I never thought to look at. I can put my release date on there. Publisher.
You could, yeah. And then it actually I think it actually does a thing for like when that game releases, like it makes it like pop up on like the itch newly released page or something like that.
Huh. I can set release dates. Huh.
Oh, nice. I can even put like if my game can be played with like a touch screen, a mouse. Okay.
Used for wide cover, maybe used for special homepage featuring. I wonder if that's why it's never had a special homepage feature. Do I have to make the little tab? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not gonna get. This isn't the show where Andrew gets in the weeds of looking at the metadata tags and being like, could I be doing better marketing for this thing?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. But I don't want to. I don't want to go to like. I don't want to be online all day. I want my marketing to be my $40 trip, my $40 buy-in, like arts and crafts fair at a farmer's market. Why can't I get 1 million followers from that? That's what I want to do.
You won't get 1 million followers from that, but you'll get followers who are like 1,000,000% invested in your stuff because they've met you in person.
I think that's what I'm realizing, and I think that's kind of like what I'm focusing more on is like instead of getting 1% of 1 million, getting 100% of 10. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, like, when it comes to like social media, like the numbers get really inflated,
Yeah.
right? So like, if you think about it that way, just like think about like the numbers of people who really care, right? At the end of the day,
Right.
and like,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
And I think
That's so true.
I like to keep mine close to accurate. I try to get as close to that 1-to-1 ratio as possible. You know, that's why I don't do much because it's obnoxious because I get rewarded when I make like jokes. You know, and they have like longer tails than my other actual things, my actual posts. You know, about the Indiepocalypse thing. Like,
Oh no, yeah, I get that. Like I did like a Reddit post where I was just showing that hey, I learned how to make the game window transparent. Now like my virtual little cats can walk all over my code.
Yeah.
And it got like so many upvotes. Like compared to like posts about like my actual like hey guys, play my game and so on, and those get like 10
Yes,
10 upvotes versus yeah.
I made a joke about that. You know, there was that thing that was going around when Zelda came out of all people were just like posting all the review scores and then they were posting their games.
Yeah.
I did that except the tryhard version of that where I rewrote everything instead of just doing scores. But that got longer traction than any Indiepocalypse post did, including like why are these ultra popular YouTubers liking this thing, and where are they when I'm doing my releases?
They're just here for the relatable slice of life content.
I never want to be relatable. Anyway, speaking of relatable, you know what's really relatable? A podcast only being about an hour long. That's a nice digestible length.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try and wrap this one up because I'm getting better at wrapping it up, and being like hour 30, time to shut it down, because who wants to listen to a 6-hour long show? You know, me, not me.
Oh.
But that said, I want to. Does anyone have any last minute things, non-plug related things that they want to say?
Enjoy your Saturday night and have like some nice fast food. Oh, sorry, I don't want to promote junk food, but enjoy your meal.
Yes.
If you come across to an arcade and you see DDR, play that for me. Thank you.
Yes. Do it. I remember once I was at a PAX East and I was in a line. This was probably a decade ago, and I was listening to a lot of East Coast DDR scene drama around conversions.
Oh my god. I don't want to go into DDR drama, not in this.
No, we won't, but it was beautiful. It was like a beautiful slice of like a scene that was probably 20 people, and just hearing the drama about it is like, right, it is. The 8-hour Indiepocalypse is all you'll get out of me, and that's the pledge drive, and that already happened. I will never go 24 hours. I'm not a hardcore gamer. I'm sorry. If you have to make me stream for 24 hours, you're just gonna have to watch me play Tales games or whatever thing I get into in the moment. We have to fire up ear grits and bless the ring a little. Anyway, Anyway, play DDR. Go get fast food. It's fast. It's right in the name. But speaking of fast food, no. Speaking of, anyway. Anyway, I don't have. I couldn't find it.
Anyway.
I couldn't find it, so I just.
Anyway, goodbye forever.
No, I just put it to a stop instead. Closing it down. Closing the show down. Thank you both for being here a lot. Before we do this big, no, this is my actual wrap up close. Melominx, you've got stuff on the internet. We've been talking about it. Where can people find it?
Thank you. I do have my own website. Yay, it's mellowminx.com, and you can find my links there.
Perfect. What a beautiful. Listen, folks, get your own websites. They're not very expensive, you know.
Yeah,
I haven't updated mine in a while. Shoot. Anyway,
sometimes they're free. You know, if you go like a NeoCity site, those are basically websites and they're free.
Yeah.
And you can carve out your own little space. Jeffrey Chiao, what have you got? Where can we find your stuff?
All right. So, since my website isn't updated yet, I will link directly to my stuff. You can check out my main job, Unbeatable, at unbeatablegame.com, and there's a demo for the game Unbeatable White Label that's available now on Steam and itch. Should I update the game on itch? I don't know.
If you're here, you probably know about that already. I have a friend who tells me about that game a lot.
I hope we don't disappoint with the final game. We've been working really hard on it, and it looks cool. Yes. If you want to check out SKYHOURWORKS stuff, we have a Patreon, SKYHOUR.works, and we also have a developers page on Steam as well. Wherever you find that, I can't directly link it.
Yes, I'm just gonna. How is your .info page work? Will that get everything where it needs to go?
I hope that it takes you to the it takes you to the Patreon. Yeah. So which links to our games, links to some of our stuff. So But, yep.
Yeah, so find it, like, Google all the things. Check out all these people's stuff. Like, this, the whole Indiepocalypse ecosystem is about getting people to. I like how within like that television, comedy, etc. world, everyone is on each other's podcasts all the time because they're entertaining, so podcasts are what they do. And streamers, I think, probably do the same thing as well, though I'm less in that world of, like, constantly promoting each other's stuff. I think games could be a little better about constantly promoting each other and being like, hey, check out this other person's stuff. It's good, That's what it's all about. And check, Indiepocalypse, that's the thing I do, right? Yes, I do a thing too. What is this thing? Indiepocalypse? Never heard of it. Indiepocalypse.com is where you buy. It's where you can buy Indiepocalypse now, the actual thing on my own website. As someone who is, doubtful of the permanence of any websites, I'm like, well, what if I just sell things through my own website? That also works. You can buy all the issues of Indiepocalypse there at a discounted rate. How long will that discount stay up? I don't know. But it's my site. I can do whatever I want with it. I can set my own rates, and I get the money much faster too. That's an amazing thing. Do you know that? It's like getting not only like having the money auto deposited, but like getting it deposited like within getting it deposited like without anyone asking, like within a couple of days of people buying things. It's compared to the month-long process of itch, it's a real treat. But that aside, indiepocalypse.com is where you buy indiepocalypse.com/tapes. If you'd like to buy a physical edition of Indiepocalypse, and you get if you're in the stream, you can see my handmade GIF right there. That's a real live cassette recorded in my house and turned to a GIF on my own. A little secret is if you look at it closely in the top corner, you can see the remnants of my fingers spinning in the cassette. I'd recommend you get those. They're cool. It's a nice way to have them in your house. And if you're a developer, hey, that's an easy way to release your game. They're super cheap. Cassette cases are under $1 a piece. And so, same with USB sticks off of AliExpress, also under $1. Or, I think those are closer to $1 a piece, but that's still like very cheap. And like the card stock to make the cassette sleeve, also under $1. So really, it's like $3. If we want to get into the nitty gritty of the business, it's maybe like $3 per cassette to make something like that. And you can bring it to local fairs, and people are like, "Oh, this is cool. It's video games." If you want to submit your video game to Indiepocalypse, you go to indiepocalypse.com/submit. That page is always open, and if you're one of those crusty old devs in the archive who's made a game 10 years ago, yeah, you can still submit that game. It's still good. I like old stuff. I love old stuff. Age has nothing to do with the quality of a piece of art, except sometimes things age poorly in certain ways, but you know what I mean. I think that's it. I also have a Patreon, indiepocalypse.com/Patreon. If you want to get bargains on things, you can buy a year's worth. And then after, you can get a year. If you get it in a year, that's like, you can get 10 months. You get 12 months for the price of 10. And that's like, if you want to just get the commissioned games, for instance, Indiepocalypse commissions a new game each year, or each month. If you want to get just those brand new commissioned games, you can get those for like $50. That's like the cost of a what's it called? A AAA video game, and you get 12 games. I think two of them were IGF nominated last year. How many will in the future? How many games in the IGF Nouveau will pass through Indiepocalypse? All of them? Hard to tell. It's your place to go if you want to be ahead of the times, I'd say. But that's it. I don't know. I could ramble on forever if you were here for my pledge drive, in which I did ramble on for 8 hours straight, more or less, with some intermissions. But that's it. Melomix, Jeffrey, thank you both for being here a lot,
Thank you.
Yeah. Likewise. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for making games. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being in the zine. Thank you for all the stuff. Thank you for the medium. Thank you for being around. Whatever thank yous you think I missed, assume I had given them to you. That's it. I'm firing up food. I'm finding my foobar menu, going to the tab that says end, and I'm stopping my recording, and I'm going to the transition to the goodbye song. Goodbye.